Hello everyone, good evening. Am I audible? Am I visible? Yes. Okay, good. We'll start with the questions. Before I start with the questions, I think I have got lot of content-oriented questions, as well as there were a lot of like, do I have to do the installation, and can I do regarding the installation, regarding the application point of view. I have received a lot of questions, yeah, regarding the stored procedures and whatever we are yet to cover in the advanced class, analytical queries and all. So I have answered those set of questions in the Slido itself, if it was directly one-on-one question. And I have brought up all the content-related question discussion here. Okay. So yes, we'll start with the discussion. The first one is from Apurva. Constraint not null. Okay, not null constraint is being used, and while entering a raw data into the table, if there is a null value, what would I do? How to tackle that kind of an issue? Like, for example, already in a table, so there is a table and I have already put up a not null constraint inside this table, that particular column. And now when I'm trying to load data inside this table, supposedly if this particular column is going to have a null value, how do I handle it? So if it is a not null column, so how would I handle it? So for such kind of situations are called as null handling issues. Okay, so this kind of issues are stated as null handling issues. How do I handle a null situation when it is a not null column? Okay, so basically, let's forget about the raw data, the word raw data. Let's not deal with it. So whenever you're trying to put up or load a table and you want all the data to be transferred, except the particular record, record is having a null for that particular column, which is having a not null constraint, I would try to generate a default value. Since this is a not null column, I cannot populate null here. So instead of null, I would try to insert a default value. And what is this default value I'm going to talk about is, it is with respect to the data types, whether it is an integer or character or varchar2 or date. What is the type of the data type? Okay, what is the type of the data? And according to that particular data type, I would prefer the default value getting inserted inside that particular column. And since there are very less people who have joined in today's class, I am scheduling this topic to the mega webinar. I'll be including this topic in the mega webinar. So we will be discussing about this null handling issues or null issues, null handling situations in the mega webinar. Okay, so how to do this default value insertion when you're populating the data, and according to each data type, what kind of data, for an example, I would use. All of these things we'll discuss in the mega webinar. Okay. Otherwise, it will most likely be a repetitive session. So yeah, I'll include this topic in the mega webinar. And the next one is, while practicing create query, okay, in Oracle Live SQL, it shows that missing or invalid option. Okay, so this is my create table statement. So basically, what mistake has been done here? Create table and look at the name of the table. If you give test space 1, will the database able to recognize this particular table name? The moment it reaches this, there is a space, right? Database or SQL, the software will not recognize the space. It will be expecting a bracket or something. Okay, so it is not going to recognize this. So you're supposed to use an underscore. So you're supposed to use a proper naming convention. Point number 1, you're supposed to follow a proper naming convention. There should be an underscore here. Okay, do not give spaces in between the name of the column, name of the table, name of the constraint. Anything you name inside the database, you cannot use space in it. Okay, fine. Now open the bracket, and here I'm talking about the first column, and I'm giving the data type of it. And how do I separate this first column and the second column? I'm supposed to use a comma, which is again missing. So please focus on your syntax. Be very clear about your syntax. I'm creating this table. This is my first column. And how do I separate it from the second column? I'm supposed to use a comma. And again, in the data type, where is the 2? Please use a proper data type name. Okay, use a proper data type. Okay, and finally the semicolon. Always try to end with a semicolon, because that says the statement is getting ended here. Okay, so please make sure that you're following the naming convention, syntax, data type, and the semicolon, which says the end of the statement. Okay, Dipti? Yeah. So these are the corrections that you need to make, and then try to run it. It will definitely run. When you're trying to focus on the types of data type, note down all of the data types. Okay. And again, in the number, you have given only one number. It is supposed to have precision and scale, which we did discuss last class, right? So what is the precision and what is the scale? So make sure you are thorough with the data type and its arguments which you're passing, precision and scale. Okay. Yeah. Good. So while adding a column, it gets added at the end. Yes. However, constraint go added in the first row, or it is not a first row, it is first column. You should be very, very thorough with your names. It's not a row. It is a column. Constraints are added on column. Both data types and data constraints are at column level. Okay. Always remember this. Okay. Now coming back to the question, whenever I'm adding a column in a table, okay, a table is there like this, and whenever I'm trying to add a new column, it gets added at the end of the table. Yes. And when I'm applying the data constraint or data type, what am I doing? I'm referencing the column name. Am I applying the data constraint to this third column or fourth column? So when you're referencing that particular column, it gets added on to the specific column. But you adding a column itself, this is like structural change which you're doing in order to add a new column. Okay, so for an existing column, you're applying a constraint, and now you're trying to add a new column. These are two different scenarios. You need to understand that. Okay, so the first scenario is to add a new column itself, and the second scenario is like a column is already there, but I have not given a constraint. I'm now trying to add a constraint to that particular column. You're referencing that column and trying to add. Okay, that's the difference, and that's why it happens that way. And the next question is from Vivek. I'm not able to see the data after the query has been successfully executed. So basically, whenever you're trying to insert a data, unlike the video, here you're supposed to run the select statement. Okay, please run the select statement to view the output. Okay, whatever data you have inserted, whatever data DMLs you have done, so all of it, please run a select statement so that you can see it. Okay. And Vishal Sharma's question, what is the difference between segment and block? And segment a table and block is a data. No, it's wrong. So basically, I'll try to explain this concept. Many people do not have this understanding. So let me ask you a question. Let's start with a question. You all know the logical view, right? Everybody knows logical view, right? Do you know what is a logical view? Database logical view. Have you learned it on day one video? Yes? Okay. So let's start writing. Inside a server, there is a server, and inside each server, you will have many databases. Okay. And let's pick out one database, and inside a database, you will have many table spaces. Okay. You will have many table spaces. Okay. And inside one table space, you will find many segments. Okay, and these segments are broken down into blocks. Okay, let's draw it. Okay, so there is a server. Okay, and there are a lot of databases. Let me draw one big database. Okay, let's zoom inside this database. And here inside this database, I have a lot of table spaces. Let's draw one big table space. Let's zoom inside this table space. I'm having a lot of segments here. Okay. And these segments are broken down into small blocks. This is how a segment is broken into small blocks. Is it clear? Is it clear? So this is a server, and inside a server you have a databases. Okay. And then table spaces, and then segment, and then block. Okay. Now, the question for you people is, how are you storing a data inside the database? Since you have been practicing to create table and a lot of DML, lot of queries you are trying to practice the entire week. Now, my question to you people is, you have data in your hand. And when you want to store this data inside a database, what will you do? How will you save the data? My question is clear, right? Priyanka, please answer the question. These are storage units, Priyanka. So inside a server, you have a database inside the table space, segment, and block. Block is the smallest storage unit. That is what you have learned from the video, right? I would have mentioned the very same line. Block is the smallest storage unit. What do you mean by smallest storage unit? Storage unit, a container. Okay. A container. Okay. So now you have a data in your hand, and how do you save it inside the database? What will you do? Okay, Shanmuga, you said by using insert statement. Inserting where? Directly you will write the insert statement. You have data in your hand. If you want to store it inside the database, now what do you do? Yes, exactly. The first step is to create a table. I'll create a table, and then I'll try to do insert of all the data, whatever I have it in my hand. Okay. Yeah, very good. So where exactly are you storing the data? table. Okay. Okay. So what I am doing is I am creating a table and then I'm storing the data here. Okay. Now, what I was talking about till now in the logical view is actually the data is getting stored inside the server, inside the database, inside the space, table space, inside the segment, inside the block. Data stored, right? Okay. But what you people are saying is I'm storing the data inside a table. Okay. Indu, you have been telling that this is the hierarchy, how to store the data, how to store the data. Okay. I have learned this on day 1 and the entire week after day 1, from day 2, day 3, day 4, all the days, what did I learn? How to store the data inside a table. Now, my question is, Indu, what is the connection between this block and this table? Because you're telling I'm storing the data inside the block, or am I storing the data inside the table? Now, what is this table and block? How it is related? Where exactly the data is stored? Is it stored in the block or is it stored in the table? Okay, many people think that we're actually storing the data inside the table. That's what I have received in the chat too. Yeah. So that's what I've been practicing. All the week I have been practicing the same. So let's dig little deeper. Okay. So what are you doing? Let me color code differently. Let me use a brown color. So I am creating an table called as employees. The moment I create employees table, I'm going to be allocated with certain set of blocks. Say, for example, 5 blocks. Okay, 5 blocks have been allocated. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 blocks have been allocated. And I started to load the data inside this employees table. And I'm happy with it. Okay. Meanwhile, Priyanka is creating departments table. And someone else is creating some other table. Okay, so many people will be creating many tables. And when Priyanka creates departments table, probably she is getting a space of 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so different tables are getting created and stored in different places. Yeah, right? Okay, Indu, I understood. The more the table is getting created, the more the blocks are getting filled up. Is it clear? Okay, now, what did I understand from this color coding? Whenever I am creating a table, okay, whenever I am creating a table, I am trying to occupy certain storage unit. Like whenever I am buying the products, I'm buying a cot, I'm buying a fridge, refrigerator, bed, TV, mixie, grinder, so many products I am buying. I'm supposed to keep these products or things in my house. So for storing these things, I need a house, right? That's the same thing you're doing here. I am creating a table and I'm loading all the data inside this block. Okay, now I understand. The more the data is getting loaded inside this employees table, the more the blocks are getting filled up. Okay, yeah. So a table is actually occupying multiple blocks. Okay, it can occupy 5 blocks, it can occupy 6 blocks, it can occupy 10 blocks. So the bigger the table, the more the number of blocks it is occupied. Is it clear so far? So far it is clear. The bigger the table, So if you keep loading 1 lakh record, 2 lakhs record, 3 lakhs record, it will keep growing bigger, bigger, bigger. Okay, it will occupy more blocks inside a segment. Okay, fine. So that we have understood. Now coming on another side. Okay, so why exactly am I supposed to create a table? Why can't I directly load the data inside the blocks itself? Unnecessary things, Indu. I have server, database, tables with segment and block. Block is the storage unit. If I am having a storage unit, why am I creating a table, and via the table, why am I loading the data here, Indu? Why can't I directly store the data inside the block? Yes? Right, no? It makes sense. I have a block. Why can't I use it directly? Now imagine you started loading this block. Block 1 is filled up. Block 2 is getting filled up. Block 3 is getting filled up. So many people creating so many tables. They are inserting so many data. Now, how do you retrieve the data? Okay, let me ask another question. If I'm coming to your house and I'm asking for a spoon to you, okay? Let's make it little sweet. You're offering me a sweet and I want to have the sweet. So I'm asking for a spoon. Okay. So what do you do? What do you do? You offer me a sweet, you give me sweet, and I ask, can I get a spoon to eat the sweet? What do you people do? Ashwita says we'll give you a spoon. Okay. How do you give the spoon? Do you have it always within you? Yeah, you fetch it from your kitchen cabinet, right? You're supposed to go and take the spoon from your kitchen, right? You'll retrieve the spoon from somewhere else. You won't have it in you, okay? Now, why do you go to a kitchen and get the spoon? Why didn't you go to a bathroom and get the spoon? Will you go to a kitchen or will you go to a bathroom? Yes, exactly. To a kitchen, because we know we kept all the kitchen utensils in the kitchen. We did not store all of these things inside the bathroom. Okay. It is a very small space, right? I do remember I store all the kitchen things in the kitchen and all the toiletries in my bathroom and all. Very good. Now, imagine you are living in a palace and you need a bedroom, or you have missed your comb, or you have missed your pen. Where do you go and search? You'll have to search all over the palace. Yeah, you don't know where it is. You don't know which room it is, right? Same way, when you come here, if you keep loading all the data inside the blocks, will you be able to remember all the block numbers? Oh, this data it is stored in this block. This data is stored inside this block. Will you be able to do that? Can you remember all of the blocks? Because you have so many blocks and you have so many tables, hundreds of tables. As part of each table, it will not be in the same place. It will be scattered here and there. Yeah. What are the blocks? You will not remember what data is stored in what block. Is it clear to everyone? Are you all with me? I cannot go and select it if I'm directly storing it inside the block. If I'm putting the data directly inside the block, I need to remember all the blocks. In block number 1, I have all of these things. In block number 100, I am having all of these things. In block number 10,000, I'm having all of these data. How will you remember what block has what data? Database is very huge and you will not know where what data is stored. So to make it easy, we have come up with the idea of table. And that is why table is existing. as a database object. So this is the storage unit. This is the how you store the data. Where exactly all the data are stored? Inside the block only. So you store all the data inside the block, but you get help via table. You store the data. Okay, and that's why you have all these database objects. The first database object is table. And why you need table? Now tell me where exactly the data is stored. Can anyone say where the data is stored? In the blocks. Very good. Thank you. And why do you need a table? Table is an object which is there in the database. And why do you need a table? For fast retrieval, yes. To store the data inside the block. Amazing. Okay. The same way, each and every database object has its importance. Okay. On Wednesday, we were discussing, okay, table is having data, view is having a select query, MView is having select query and data, trigger, that, this and all. We discussed about all of these database objects. But there is a core reason why these data objects are existing. One of the core reason why a table is existing is if you want to retrieve employees' details. It is very, very easy to remember only one table, employees. Maybe the data is scattered here and there in different blocks. I don't have to remember all the blocks, but what I need to do, it is very simple and logically the table names are named. It is having logical names. Employee details are present in employees table. Department details are present in departments table. Like that, logically we are naming the tables. So it is easy for us to use these tables and retrieve the data from the blocks. And it is easy for us to store the data inside the blocks. Is it clear? Use the table database object to store data and to retrieve the data. Clear? Yes, I think now you would have got a deeper understanding. I don't think many people discuss it this way. They say, okay, table will have all the data, so view will have select queries. This is what they say. But why are we having tables? And what is the connection? What are all these database objects doing inside a database? Now do you understand why we have database objects inside a database? Do you all agree with me? I have a database and I have blocks inside it. I can very well go and store the data and retrieve the data. Okay, but I'm not doing it. I am trying to use these database objects. There are different varieties of database objects existing. Yeah, and I'm going to use these objects for different scenarios, for different reasons. Are you all clear on that? Okay. So the next question is select star from test table 1 where test ID is equal to 101. Okay. Or select star from test. Okay. Where hyphen 101. No. It is supposed to be equal to Nishant, you're supposed to be learning all the operators. I would ask you to go with the operators. What are all the operators available? Okay, so I think in the video, whatever query I'm trying to run, on top of the query, inside the bracket, I would have mentioned all the operators. Like for example, equal to is an operator. Less than equal to, greater than equal to is are operators. Like that, I would have mentioned all of the operators. Hyphen is not one among them. We never use hyphen in SQL. We use equal to operator. Okay, so please go ahead and get familiarized with all the operators. In the video above the query, I would have given in the bracket, commented line I would have given. Okay, note down that. Okay, the next one is Tejaswini's question. While using insert with select statement, okay, what happens if the tables are not having equal number of columns? This is a brilliant question. What happens is, I'll give you a scenario. Let me use a darker color. Okay, so there is a table, and this table is likely having so many columns. Okay, and I'm trying to insert data inside this table. What are my considerations? Points to remember. What are my considerations? Whenever I'm trying to insert data inside the table, what are my considerations? So first of all, I need to consider what is the data type of each of the column, second, third, fourth, and fifth column. And are there any data constraints like not null constraint, primary key, foreign key, like that? Am I having any data constraint? So these two will help me to understand, and accordingly I'll try to insert. Okay, this is for insert. So these two are to be considered, and the total number of columns. Okay, if there are not null, then I'll leave it off. Okay, there are nullable columns means I will leave it off, right? So total number of columns minus the nullable columns, only the mandatory columns I'll try to give. If I have value, I'll give the value for nullable columns also. Okay, especially when I do insert with select statement. Okay, whenever I'm trying to do insert with select statement, of course, I need to check the data type. I need to check the data constraints. I need to check the total number of columns. Okay, and then I'll have to check how many columns I'm selecting. Say, for example, this is a not null column. Okay, and in the select statement, I am querying for 1, 3, and 4. Only these columns I am trying to query in the select. I'm selecting first, third, and fourth values. I'm giving data here, here, and here. Will it accept? Insert select will fail. Why it will fail? Because it needs a value here. So always along with the columns, whatever you have data with, you should include the not null and primary key constraints. So in the select statement, whatever data you have that you can insert, along with that, you have to check what is the column of not null constraint and what is the primary key constraint column. So all of these should be covered. Okay. Required column plus not null plus primary key columns. All of these are supposed to be inserted. So make sure your select statement is having all of these data. And then this insert will run successfully. Okay, otherwise it will give an error. I'm expecting an answer here, but you're not giving me. I'm expecting an answer here in the primary key, you're not giving me. So these are two mandatory column fills. So you have to fill those data. Apart from whatever data you have, you need to give data for these two. Okay, so never forget the data constraints. Data types and data constraints are first, and then check for the total column numbers and all of the values. Okay. Okay, so next question is how to use date or sysdate in check constraint. You cannot use sysdate in check constraint. Okay, you cannot use sysdate in check constraint. Why? Because whenever you're doing a check constraint, what happens? It will accept either true or false, whether it is there, whether yes or no. If you're giving check salary is greater than 1,000, it will just check whether the salary is greater or not. Yes or no, true or false. So always you should have this output. Always for a check constraint, you need an output. Yes or no, whether it is greater or not. Okay. So in that case, sysdate is very functional. Like every day it changes and it has to check with the server. So at such kind of situations, sysdate cannot be treated or implemented under this particular check constraint functionality. Okay. Okay, fine, Indu. I cannot use sysdate. What about any date? Can I use any date in a check constraint? Well, in Oracle, no, you cannot use it directly. But in SQL Server, you can write a check constraint. But there is only one restriction. Whenever you're using any date, you should always use two parameters: begin date and end date. Because infinity cannot be accepted in check constraint. Okay, only the begin date if you're giving, then where exactly it ends, it will be a problem, right? Only the end date if you're giving, the what is the begin date also will be a problem. Okay, so what is the begin date and what is the end date? If you are having two value, then you can apply it inside the check constraint. In SQL Server and MySQL, you can do that. But in Oracle, you need to write a trigger for this. You can accomplish this scenario only via a trigger. You'll have to write a trigger to check for the date and then always check whether the value entered is greater than or the particular date, whatever you give. And inside the trigger, you're supposed to use the date format. So either in the trigger or in the begin date, end date, you're supposed to use the date format. You'll be learning more about this in the advanced class. Yeah. Not just check constraint regarding the begin date, end date, and how do you format the date and all. The data formatting or validation you'll be learning in the advanced class. Okay. So directly in Oracle, you cannot use sysdate. Sysdate is no option, but any date you have to use a trigger. But in SQL and MySQL, you can apply it with begin date and end date data. Okay. Okay. So yes. The next question is by Tejaswini. Kindly explain what are the scenarios we get unique constraint violation error and why. Basically, whenever you're getting unique constraint violation error, means that you are trying to give duplicate. What do you mean by violation? Unique means only unique values are allowed. If you're trying to give a duplicate entry, then it will give you an error. That's all. Very simple and straight. Unique means you should not have any duplicates. But if you are trying to give a duplicate entry, then the violation happens. That's all. Okay. For a primary key, there are two violations. One is duplicate entry you're trying to do, or you're trying to give a null value. Both of the scenarios, it will be a violation. For unique key, only duplicates are a violation. For a not null, only a null value entry is a violation. Okay. Okay. In update statement, okay, if we have not given the where condition or reference column name, okay. So if you're not giving any where condition, will it work? Yes, it will work and it will change all the records. Okay, if you give a where condition, it will select that particular records and it will update. If you're not giving a where condition, then it will change all the records. Okay, but reference column means basically for an update statement, you need to set a column name you should use, right? Set this column to this value. Yeah, this column name and value you should be using under set clause. Okay, so that is a must. You cannot not give that. That is a syntax error. You have to give set value. Okay. But where condition, if you're giving, it is select certain list of records. If you're not giving a where condition, all the records will get updated with this particular column. So this column entirely for that particular column, you will replace it with whatever value you're giving. So A, like that, all of the records, it will be populating with A. Okay, the entire column will be populated with that data. Okay, kindly give some idea on save point. Okay, so yeah, basically we have to, instead of going to save point, I think I can help you to understand like this. Insert, update, delete, update, delete. Like that, multiple statements you're trying to run. Okay, first let me run these three. Okay, these three statements I'm trying to run, and I'm trying to commit. Okay, and then I'm running the next three, and I'm trying to run a commit. Okay, and then I try to run these two. Okay, now I want to check the data. So I'm running a select statement. Unfortunately, I'm getting a mismatched record. Like I'm not the expected output. I'm not getting the expected output. So what happens now? What will you do? You're trying to run multiple statements. First three set of statement you ran, and then commit, and then next one, and then next two. Now you're not finding the answers right. I was expecting 10 records to be updated and deleted and all. Now it is not proper. What will you do? Anyone can answer. There is a mismatch and you see that it did not work in your way. What will you do? Okay. You will try to do a rollback. Very good. Okay. What will a rollback do? Where will you go when you do a rollback? When you do a rollback, you will actually go to the previous commit. Okay, my question is, can I go to this place? Can I go here? Previous to previous commit, can I go? Can I go to the first commit? Instead of the second commit, can I go to the first commit? No. Okay. What if I come here? I have rolled back, I have reached here. And again, here also I'm running a select statement. Here also mismatch is there. Okay. So I need to undo this commit. What will I do? What can I do? See, currently you're standing here. Okay. You're standing here. If you do a rollback, you can reach at this level only. You cannot go here. You will be here only. You will jump here and you can stand here only. But if you want to go here, what can be done? You can't do again rollback. You did not go to this place directly. You can't again do a rollback. That will not be working. You can go to this position, that's all. Because when you stand here and try to do a rollback, okay, it will not go to the previous commit because it will come back here only. This is the previous commit, sir. We are already in the committed status only. We are already in the committed status only. It will keep rolling back to here only. It will not go to the previous commit. It will be keep rolling here. We are already in the commit status. I can't roll back anymore. I have come to the committed state. Now you will be okay. What if I want to go here? Yeah? Yes. At such points, instead of commit, if I have used a save point A and save point B, okay? Whenever I'm trying to do a rollback, I'll mention it, rollback to A or rollback to B, like that I can mention. I'll have the option in my hand. If I put rollback to B, it goes to this position. If I put rollback to A, then it goes back to this position. Is it clear? Is it clear? Exactly. So this is the situation where you will be using a save point. Okay. Likely when it can happen into when such kind of situations will happen, when you have continuous queries to be run together. Usually this happens inside a stored procedure or any logical programming only will have this kind of situation. In your SQL statement level, you will not face such kind of situation. So hence, in the SQL statement level, you have only two queries that you could rely on. But when you go to logical programming, you will be using save point, because there you need a save point. There is a need for a save point because you will have to save, auto save then and there, and finally here you need to commit. Okay, the save point A, save point B, save point 3 is not a commit. It will temporarily save it until you commit. If without committing you are coming out, then whatever you have done via save point doesn't mean anything. It will all get rolled back. Do you understand this point? Even if you use save point save point in different levels, at the end you're supposed to commit. If you're not committing and you're coming out of the stored procedure, then whatever you have done, all these update, delete, update, insert and all, it will become rollback, undo. Is it clear? Save point is going to save until it is committed. Good. Very good. So the next question is, actually I'm getting an error while doing insert query. Okay. That is type 2 prompt. Okay, so prompt insert queries will not work in Oracle Live SQL. That's because database will have a dedicated memory space allocation, but this online tool is not having it. This pop-up facility is not working in the Oracle Live SQL. So yes, insert query, the type 2 prompt alone will not work. And that is called as substitution variable. Okay, actually substitution variable holds a lot of things. You will be learning more about the substitution variables in advanced class, but here I am just telling you that there is a possibility. Okay, like substitution variable, it's like an intro for an substitution variable. That's what you have learned from this workshop, but in advanced class you will be learning a different usage of substitution variable. Environment level, database level, server level, what kind of substitution variable usage can you do? All of these things are covered in the advanced class. Okay. So what are joins in SQL? So Aditya, you have asked a general question. Huh? What is a join, Indu? Please tell me that clearly. I have two tables, Indu. Yes. I want to get some data from here and some data from here. I want to see both of these data together in one output. Then I do join. That's all. Very simple. I have table 1 and table 2, and I want to see both these tables content. Not necessarily all of it from table 1 and all of it from table 2. Maybe 4 columns from table 1 and 3 columns from table 2. I can select. I can do a join. I can be very selective. Okay? Yeah. That is join. And the next question is, when we have more number of rows, yeah, can we insert it? Yes, definitely. Even if you have 50,000 records, you can do it. But can we insert it in a single query, Indu? I think that's your question, Priyanka. Am I right? I think you forgot to mention that, right? Can I do it in a single query? Yes, you can do it via bulk or conditional insert that you will be learning. That is analytical level of querying that you will be learning in advanced class, how to do such kind of conditional and bulk inserts. Those are covered under large data set handling topic. Okay. So I learned what is an insert. Now I need to know how can I do it for multiple records in a single state. Yeah. Okay. That in advanced class. And I'll give an introduction about it in the mega webinar. You'll be knowing more about it in the mega webinar on Sunday's class. So yeah, next question is, I entered data in a table, okay, with capital letters. Okay. I wrote the query in the small letters. Okay. Is it okay or not? Okay. So whenever you're writing a query with a small letter is not a problem. But in your select query, if you're using the data in small letters, then it will not match. Okay, always remember this point. Query is not case sensitive. What do you mean by case sensitive? Uppercase or lowercase? Capital letters or small letters, not a problem. Okay, but data is case sensitive. Okay, inside a table, let me write it here. So inside a table, you wrote Indu in caps. Okay, and in your select query, where name equal to Indu you are writing. Okay, this is the name column. Select, if you write in small letters, no issues. From clause, no issues. Where, no issues. Name, column name, table name, whatever it is, no issues. But the data, this Indu and this Indu are not the same. Data is case sensitive. So when you're writing a select statement like this, no data found will be your answer, because it did not find Indu here. These two are two different things. Okay, data is case sensitive. Can we calculate average in SQL? Absolutely, Bhuvneshwar. You have a function for that. Okay, use the function average. Okay, please use the function average to do this. Is giving a space in concat necessary or optional? It's completely your choice, Ashwita. Say, for example, hello 2023. How are you? Okay, so this is what I want to see. Okay, but inside the table, hello 2023 is here, and how is here, are is here, and you with question mark is here. So how do you concatenate it? You will have to use multiple concatenation. Okay. So even if you concatenate, let's talk about this how are you part. Okay, let's talk about this how are you part. I have spaces in between, right? So what should I do? In concatenation function, okay, I'm going to give this column and this column. Okay, column 2 and column 3. I'm going to give the column 1 and column 3. But I need to insert a space before this column 3 because how space are. Otherwise, it will be like how are. It will become one word, right? So if you need a space, you need to include a space here. If you do not want, go for it. Okay, it is completely based on the requirement. Okay, so you need to make sure that whether you need a space or not. Okay, and what about dual? Nishant wants to know about dual. Dual is a dummy table. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it if you are using SQL Server or MySQL database. So in both SQL Server and in MySQL, select and the column list will work fine. Okay, from class is not required in the SQL Server. Okay, from class is not required in the SQL Server. Okay, but in Oracle, MySQL, from class is always required. Okay, here is MySQL. Okay, from class is always required. You have to give a column list and you need to give a table name. Okay, now tell me, in your select statements, whatever you have run in the video, you are not referencing any table value. You are trying to select something which you want. Okay, like system date, hello 2023. These are all the characters or string value which you are directly giving. So instead of the column list, you can use a string value here. Okay, but what will you do instead of a table name? If there is a column, it can be fetched from a table. If it is a string value, like hello 2023, how are you, hi Indu, all of these kind of string values directly you're using, what will be your table name? You wouldn't know, right? Because, and here the from clause is a must, right? You have to give a from. Where am I trying to learn? So for that reason, they have created a dual table. Dual is a table name. It's a dummy table, okay, which can be used in such kind of scenarios. Okay, it doesn't have number of columns. It doesn't have number of records and all. Okay, if you're giving 2 to 3 string values, then it will consider each of the string value as one column. So multiple columns it will take. Okay, it is adjustable. Okay, but this is a dummy table when you use your own string value. Okay. Yeah. So I think we have covered all of it, but lot many people, I think they have not run the join statements. You people have not run the select subqueries and all, because I did not receive any questions from subqueries and joins. Either all of you have already learned you have understood everything from the video, or you did not run it yet. Okay, I think both of these scenarios are going to be. You still have Saturday one day. Please make sure that you're running all of the statements and make sure you're going through all of these things and come on mega webinar. Sunday 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. It is not a recorded session, so please be available, and that's where I'm going to distribute the bonus, and that's where I'm going to discuss about, say, for example, the profiling, the market analysis, lot many things I'm going to discuss there only. So make sure you people are attending the mega webinar and get benefited from this workshop. If you're not attending the mega webinar, probably you will miss so many things. And for your SQL quiz, for your exam, I will be asking questions from mega webinar topics also. Okay. Yeah. So there are 3 attempts that you can give, but I will be asking questions from the mega webinar also. Okay. So from your recorded sessions, from your live classes, that whatever we have seen in today's class, we have seen about the block and table, right? The logical view, how a table and block is connected. Such kind of topics also I'll be asking questions. Okay. So whatever we discussed on Wednesday and Friday Q&A sessions, and whatever we discussed on the recorded session, whatever we are going to do on the mega webinar, all of these topics are considered for your exam. Okay, questions will be covered. Yes, Shobit, your credentials, your access will be revoked after 2 weeks. I think I have mentioned this on the very first day. Okay, already 1 week is over. You have 1 other week. Okay. Perumala Nikila, if you want to break down a column value, you have to use substring. Very simple. You have to use a substring. How you have a string and you have to use substring is like you have a big Indu Chandramohan is there. I want only Indu. I don't want Chandramohan. Or I want only Chandra. Or I want only Mohan. How do I take part of the string? I'll use substring. That's what you have learned. And see, whenever you're learning functions, joins, and subqueries, think about the scenarios. That's what I've been telling from the beginning. Think about the scenarios. Don't just blindly understand whatever I know I'm doing a spoon feeding because lot many are from non-IT background, right? I'm trying to do a spoon feed here, but then you have to think beyond it. Okay, that's what is practice called as. You have to practice means you have to think beyond it and think of some scenarios that will help you. Okay. Bhuvaneshwar, I have already answered that question. There are no cells here. Cells are supposed to be used in Excel, not in database. There are functions for that. You can concatenate it and use it in a table. You have learned the concatenation function, right? Ashwita, it's not Sunday exam. Sunday is a mega webinar. We'll be discussing a lot of topics on mega webinar. It's a 3-hour session and everyone is supposed to attend it because I'll be asking questions from the topics which I'm going to take on Sunday session. Okay. And after the mega webinar, at any point of time, you can give your SQL quiz and get certified. It's completely in your hand, in your Skill Nation account. Anytime after mega webinar, you can go and give the quiz and get certified. Okay. Before the 2 weeks time is there. So you'll have 1 week. Next week till next Sunday, you will have access. Before that, you can give your exam and you can get certified. Okay, so others, whoever has asked questions in the Slido, I have already answered the questions there. So if you did not find your question here in today's class, please go ahead and verify the questions in Slido. I have already answered. Okay. Yeah. So the test will have 5 questions and you're supposed to get 80% and above. So 4 questions you have to answer correctly. Okay. Yeah. And those, I think, Pushpalata, you have asked the same question in Slido. I have answered it already. You're supposed to increase the resolution. There are people who told me that, yes, I have increased the resolution and it worked fine. Okay. Okay, guys, we'll meet again on Sunday. It's not a recorded session, so please be on time. I'll start sharp at 1 o'clock and I'll be winding up by 4 o'clock. Yeah, so 3-hour session. I have a lot to discuss. So practice all of the queries and know all the topics and come for mega webinar so that it will be easy for you to understand. Yeah, if you're not going to do the homework, then obviously it is going to be difficult to follow me in the mega webinar. So please make sure that practice all of the queries and come. Okay. Yes, exam will be MCQ type. Okay, bye-bye. Take care. Good night.